the Colts just continue to fly under the radar for me. It is a team that I don't cover hardly at all. But, they were on primetime yesterday, 9 o'clock. I was able to watch them. And, I was in church, obviously, so I was watching sporadically. But, the game went to overtime, and I was able to watch roughly towards the end of the game. And this was my takeaway. How good are the Colts, and is Penix the guy? That was like my main headline coming out of this game. Now let's just talk about the Colts and, give them their flowers. How good is Jonathan Taylor? Like, Jonathan Taylor yesterday, I talk about Ezekiel Elliott a lot and how Ezekiel Elliott was the type of running back that Jonathan Taylor is. And it feels like with all the workhorsemanship and the what's the word I'm looking for? The bell cow back, so to speak, that Jonathan Taylor is and that Zeke was. It feels like Jonathan Taylor is not missing a beat. Last couple years ago, he was dominant. Last year, not so much. But this year, it just feels like he's just hit another level. I mean, there was a stat that came out from Diana Rossini, and it pretty much said to the extent where there's only a couple of players that have been able to hit over 240 rushing yards multiple times in their career when there's only a couple of players. But yesterday, Jonathan Taylor ran for 240 yards, had 3 touchdowns. He was just absolutely phenomenal. And the Colts roster is good. But when I watched him, and we saw it yesterday, they have the pieces. They have the wide receiver. The wide receivers, you had Michael Pittman, who didn't even have a good game yesterday, but we know the capability he has. Alec Pierce, he can make some plays. Tyler Warren is an absolute stud. He's going to be a great tight end in this league. And Josh Downs as well. So you have all these key pieces on the offense. And the offensive line is a great unit. It's a top 3 unit specifically in the NFL, even though they didn't have a great day yesterday. But it's going to come down to one guy. And his name is Daniel Jones. His name is Daniel Jones. Last week, the Colts haven't had a bye. So actually they have a bye going into this week. So you're 8-2 going into the bye. You really can't ask much 10 weeks into the season. And, we know Daniel Jones, he's had a good year, things of that nature. But last week was kind of like, okay, is this an anomaly from Daniel Jones of having a bad game? Or is this possibly a sign to come? Because, we have people like Nick Wright. He was basically saying like, okay, it feels like at some point, this is the same. The Colts felt like the Saints of last year where they're going to turn into pumpkins. Definitely not the case because the Saints at this point in the season last year, they only had 3 wins, I think, roughly. But it seemed like yesterday, Daniel Jones felt like he wants to go to pumpkin. He didn't fully do it, but he had some multiple instances yesterday where he kind of went full pumpkin. He had the fumble that he fumbled and he didn't lose. I don't think he lost it. But and he had that bad interception to Jesse Bates. That was just a bad throw. But Daniel Jones was 19 for 26, 1 touchdown, 1 reception. He had a passer rating of 100 and he had a quarterback rating of 31. That's not good. And he threw the ball pretty well. Tyler Warren had 8 catches for 99 yards. Alec Pierce, he threw a nice deep ball to Alec Pierce. That was a really good throw by Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones, he had the moments of pumpkin watch. But here's the alarming thing though. I didn't even know he fumbled this many times because I told you I didn't watch this game play for play. Daniel Jones had 3 fumbles yesterday and he lost 1. I thought he lost 1. I thought I remember seeing the game and I saw Daniel Jones lose 1. So he lost 1. And that is something that you can't turn the ball over 4 times. Well, sorry, they didn't turn it over 4 times, but you had 4 turnover-worthy plays. You had the pass and you fumbled the ball 3 times. You just cannot have that out of Daniel Jones. I want to love Daniel Jones. But this type of performance, and now that I'm speaking, we can kind of compare this Colts team to possibly maybe the Vikings of last year. You have this insane roster. I mean, you have the defense, you have the wide receivers. I mean, you have everything at your disposal, but everything comes down to the quarterback. And we saw last season that going towards the playoffs and the last game of the season and into the playoffs, Sam Darnold just straight pumpkin. And that's going to be don't get it twisted. Don't think I'm sitting here slandering on Daniel Jones, but this season, I'm still skeptical of Sam Darnold. Now, I love the Seahawks. Yesterday, they looked absolutely fantastic. But I'm still skeptical about Sam Darnold for many, many reasons. But defensively, it's the same case and the same comparison with the Vikings of last year. The team's phenomenal. Defensively, they're great. They have all the weapons at their disposal. I don't know if I love the Colts to really compete for a Super Bowl this year. They are a good team, don't get me wrong. But the one thing that I can call back to, and this is the same case that can be made for before the Chargers and the Patriots that I just discussed. Their conference is just mediocre. I don't really think one team in this conference is just like head over heels over the other. You have the Colts, Patriots, Chargers, Ravens, Chiefs, Broncos. Like all these teams that I named, they're not like, okay, they're like super unbeatable. Like they're, like a couple of teams in the NFC. So that is like the good thing that is riding for the Colts right now. So the Colts are good. They're going into bye 8-2. I'm looking forward to seeing more of them later on in the season. Now, this is the reason why I wanted to mainly talk about this topic. Let's circle to the Falcons. Is Michael Penix the guy? Now, I didn't make this topic to absolutely crap on Michael Penix. He's young. He has time. He can develop. But man, the Falcons really irritate me. And I literally wrote this down. The Falcons absolutely irritate me for this main reason. You have this roster that I think is very good. I think their defense is underrated. You had they're leading like top 5 in sacks. The defense is good. They can get to the quarterback, and they even got to Daniel Jones yesterday. Daniel Jones was sacked 7 times. Like the defense is actually really good. And you have Bijan Robinson, you have Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney. Like, they have weapons on this roster. And the offensive line is actually pretty decent. And it seems like to me, yesterday, and it was a glaring issue, Michael Penix was just missing gimmies. I was sitting there like, and specifically late in the game, where the Colts were able to get the ball back on that third down throw, that little in route that Penix were throwing, that Penix threw up the middle of the field. I can't remember who he was throwing it to. But I think it was 89, Charlie. I remember the number being 80-something, so it might have been that Charlie Moore kid. But he threw it on the in route and threw it 3 yards behind him, and it almost got picked off. I'm sitting like, Penix, what are we doing? And there was a couple of out routes near the end of the game on the final drive in overtime, and Penix was missing passes. I'm like, what? That was the thing that everybody was banking on with Michael Penix. It was the idea. I was like, okay, this kid is super accurate. He throws a hard football. But these last couple of games and many stints this season, we've not seen that with Michael Penix. That's the reason why he's been benched twice, if I remember correctly. I know he was benched in Carolina, but I think there's been another time this year where he was benched as well. So Kirk Cousins has been in there twice. Well, no, I think he was benched the one time, and then he got hurt the one game, so that's the reason why Kirk Cousins played. But outside of that, I don't love Michael Penix. And that's the reason why last Friday, and my daddy gave me crap for it yesterday when we was watching the Falcons. He's like, Jayden, why would you even suggest the Falcons trade for Kyler Murray? Because you can't wait to develop this quarterback. This roster is a win now roster. Like they really are. And you got to take advantage of a division that isn't that good. You're not really sold on Carolina. The Buccaneers, who knows how healthy they can be in the future. Mike Evans may not be there after this year. His future is up in question. Who knows? So this is a window that you got to win. And this is, and I wrote this down, you're 3-6 as a team, and you have no first-round pick going into the 2026 NFL Draft. So they're investing everything into this team for a win-now scenario. You just don't trade into the first round and get all these pass rushers and stuff and not feel like you're an all-in team that you can, you have the roster capable of winning the Super Bowl. That is like, spending that first-round pick to get a pass rusher like that is like an all-in move. And it was a smart move by the Falcons organization because James Pierce has been a baller this year, and they've had they've gotten the most sacks and had one of the best pass rushers in the league. But you just have too many weapons. I mean, and I don't love the play calling. There was a point they had 3rd and 2, and they tried to run a wide receiver screen to Bijan Robinson. Like, they're at times, they can be way too Bijan Robinson reliant. And Bijan didn't even have a great game yesterday. I mean, he ran the ball pretty decent, but he didn't have a factor in this game when you watch. He just didn't pop out on your screen. And Kyle Pitts, he just continues to be underutilized. Now, Drake London, he's a stud. And it feels like Michael Penix and Drake London has had a good rapport. But man, the Falcons just continue to just irritate me because this roster is just way too good. And at some point, we may have to question Michael Penix. Unless he, changes things around. Second year, it's going to be his first full year starting at the quarterback position. And we're about to talk about this next quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. You have a team who's ready to win now. So I don't know how patient the organization may be until they make a move.